Hello everyone and welcome to another very exciting game that just finished from the Tata Steel Chess Tournament 2022. It's a Dubov versus Vidit and it's just a wonderful attacking and defending game. You'll see what I mean by this, so let's dive straight into it. There is quite a lot to cover. Dubov with the white pieces opens with e4. We have e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now not bishop to b5, bishop to c4. Dubov not interested in any of that positional stuff. He wants to play a real attacking game, and he goes for the Italian game, bishop to c4. And he's also checking if Vidit will maybe go bishop c5, so he can go for the Evans gambit or maybe the delayed Evans gambit. But Vidit goes knight to f6, a very solid two knights defense. Where you guys are again wondering, will we see knight to g5? Again, we will not. These are very, very strong players, and they avoid such openings for the most part, but sometimes they do happen. So d3, and now bishop to c5. Vidit doesn't want to be left behind in development. We have c3, now preparing some queenside expansion with b4, a4, and d6 now. And now, usually players just castle here, but Dubov goes for bishop to g5. It's the move is somewhat rare, but not extremely rare. We have h6. Vidit immediately challenges the bishop, bishop to h4, and now, well, again, usually a6 or g5 right away attacking the bishop are played here, but Vidit goes for a5. He just prevents any queenside expansion that Dubov might have planned, and now we have knight to a3, and this is a new move here. There are some games where again a6 or g5 was played. Sorry, not a6, where g5 was played. But here we have knight to a3. Oh yeah, also knight b to d2 is a known move, and it's a very interesting move because it was played between in a game between Adiban and Vidit in the Tata Steel India Rapid, where Adiban played knight b to d2, but it didn't work out well for him. Vidit won that game. So here knight to a3 is a deviation from that game, and this is now move 8, and it is as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. So he's preparing to bring the knight over to c2, then he will have excellent control of the center. Knight is coming to e3, then to d5 or e5, and he's offering Vidit to capture it and double his pawn. So this is something you don't just decline. It's a chance to cripple White's position, so you will do it. And similar to something Magnus did against Giri, so he will have the bishop pair, but he will have a ruined pawn structure. So bishop captures on a3, b captures, and now queen e7. Still waiting with the castles, because maybe Vidit will castle queenside. So here we have castles kingside by Dubov, and now knight to b8, shifting this knight over to d7. We have d4. Dubov strikes in the center as Vidit's king is still in the center of the board, and now knight b to d7. And now rook to b1, a very nice move, putting pressure on the entire b file. If the bishop is developed, then the b7 pawn becomes weak, and it's also a very tricky move, because if black just continues, for example, with knight to b6, attacks the bishop, we can play bishop to b5 check, and now black will have to struggle for moves, because c6 is now impossible. Bishop captures on c6, and then we capture the knight on b6. So there are some very tricky lines here. So Vidit just goes g5, we have bishop to g3, and he grabs the e4 pawn. We have knight captures on e4, and now Dubov goes queen to c2. Now the e file is almost open, which is something that Dubov really wants to do. The queen and king are still on the e file. And now what can Vidit do here? His knight is attacked. He can defend it with f5, or he could capture the bishop here. Capturing the bishop is very dangerous, but it can be played. I'm just going to show it because it's a super fun line. For example, knight captures on g3. Dubov would capture with the f pawn because you want to open up this f file for the rook. Now knight b6, attacking the bishop, and now of course the bishop captures on f7. So this is the good stuff. Queen captures, knight captures on e5, opening up a double discovery here, and now queen h7. Only move to survive this with black. You offer a queen trade. We're gonna decline this with queen to e2, and now black wins another piece, but for the price of getting attacked with well, just without mercy. King to d7, for example, rook to e1, and with this incredible control of the e and f file and all of the squares here, it's basically a draw, because black can't really do anything, and white doesn't really have enough material to finish the game. You're probably gonna keep continuing with queen to e6 check, queen to f6 check, queen e6, queen f6, and it's gonna be a perpetual. So it's a fun line, but Vidit decides that he's going to go for f5. Maybe he can do more than a draw. We have d captures on e5, d captures on e5, and now rook f to e1. You don't have to worry about f4 because then the knight also hangs, so it's not really like you're blundering a bishop on g3. So knight captures on g3. Now we're going to capture with the h-pawn. There's no point in capturing with the f-pawn any longer. And now, of course, e4, as this pawn is a weak pawn, so we have to advance it. We have pawn to e4, and now Dubov, of course, plays g4. You don't have to worry about capturing. The queen is still on e7, and we want to weaken this pawn so we can capture this pawn and hopefully take advantage of Vidit's king still being in the center of the board. So Vidit plays knight to c5. This is the only way to keep defending with black because this pawn will become extremely weak. We have to defend it, and luckily Dubov doesn't have a d pawn or a b pawn to kick away this knight. So here, knight to d4, putting more pressure on f5, and now we just play rook to f8. If you play f captures on g4, then knight b3. We challenge this knight, and then it's not going to be easy for black to survive this. Or rather, it's going to be impossible. So after knight d4, rook to f8, and now g captures on f5. We have bishop captures on f5. The rook now defends the bishop, and here we have rook captures on b7. A beautiful move by Dubov, offering an entire rook, but of course this will not be all that great for black, because if Vidit captures on b7, we play bishop to b5 with check. And now what are you going to do? You can go here because then knight to c6 check picks up the queen, so you have to go to f7, but now we capture this because the rook no longer defends on f7, and this is now officially a king hunt. So instead, Vidit plays rook to f6. Now he has control of the 6th rank, and he will be able to move the king a little bit. If he can play king f8, king g7, he should be much safer. So here, the rook is still hanging on b7, and the Dubov could move it with something like rook to b5, but that's not how Dubov plays chess. Dubov plays queen to b1. He's preparing rook to b8 chess and check, and he's still offering the rook. So knight captures on b7, queen captures on b7, and now rook to d8. And now it seems that Vidit avoided all danger and that he's now ready to finally move the king away from the e-file, but well, maybe there's not enough time for that, because knight captures on f5, rook captures on f5, and now rook captures on e4. And it seems like Vidit is losing the queen, so the position is very delicate. You have to choose your next words very wisely, because if you just block with rook to e5, you lose the game on the spot. I'm gonna show it. Queen to c6 with check, and now the problem is, what do you do here? You're gonna move the king, so now we play queen captures on h6 with check. You can go to g8, the bishop covers this, so you have to go back, queen to h8 check, and now we connect with the rook on e5. For example, king here, queen captures here, you've just lost an entire rook. Captures. Of course, the endgame is now completely winning for Vidit. He has, well, he's just up a full piece. So instead, after rook captures on e4, the only move for Vidit is rook to d1 check. We have to do this to free up the d8 square for the black king. King h2, and now rook to e5. That's how you have to play it. We have queen to c6 check, but now, of course, we go to the d8 square. Queen to a8 with check, king d7, and now bishop to b5 check. This is it seems almost impossible that you can survive this with white, because look at this. The queen slices over here, the bishop slices over here, the rook slices over here, but it seems that it's possible. King to e6 by Vidit. We have queen to c8 check, now king to f6. Queen to h8 check, now comes king to f5. This is, it's hard to figure out if this is a king hunt or a king march. Is Vidit attacking with the king, or is he running away? And now the problem for Dubov is that it doesn't seem like Vidit's running away, but it also doesn't seem like he's attacking. Here the position is a draw, and you have to agree to it with queen to c8 check, king f6, queen to h8, and now the position repeats itself. The problem is both players are extremely low on time, and they've been very low on time for quite some time, and it's only move 32. So instead, after queen to f5, Dubov just played f3, It's something that Dubov, just cannot go against. It is against his nature to force a repetition like this with the white pieces. So he plays f3, but now the position is completely winning for Vidit. So feel free to pause the video here and win the game for Vidit while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this just crushing move. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook captures on e4. That's the move that wins. It seems like a simple solution, but if it wins, we're not going to look any further. So Dubov, of course, captures back with f captures on e4, and now king captures on e4. Also very interesting is maybe you guys are thinking, why not include the g4 with check first? It looks a bit scary, but king f4, and this is perfectly fine. There's no way to continue this attack. The king is on a dark square, so we don't have to worry about anything. So instead, f captures on e4 was played, and now king captures on e4. And now, what do you play here? Vidit is now up a pawn, but now, not only that, he's up the exchange. So queen to a8 with check, king to e3. And now if you continue checking queen to a7 check, we're going to play king to d2, and after queen to d4 with check, king c1 is perfectly fine for black. There are no more checks, and you don't have to worry about anything. So after king to e3, we have bishop to c6 by Dubov, but now just queen to e5 with check, and now, now it's pretty clear that this game is just over. So if you go king h3, then this is just checkmate, rook h1, king g4, h5 checkmate. Nothing fun for white there. So g3 was played by Dubov, but now g4, just taking away this square from the white king. Queen to a7 check, king to d2, and it was in this position on move 37 that Daniil Dubov resigned the game. And another brilliant victory for Vidit in round 3 of the 2022 Tata Steel Chess Tournament. So it's a brilliant tournament so far for him, winning against Shankland in round 1, then a draw against Caruana in round 2, and now taking down Dubov in round 3. Really an impressive start. We'll see if he can continue this, as so far he is leading with sole lead, and if he continues like this, then he will definitely win this tournament with great style. So here you resign because after, let's say, one more check, queen f2 check, we're going to play king to c1. Now you're kind of threatening to win the queen, so let's say queen f4 check, we have to force a trade, but now just rook d2, you block check and deliver check, and after, let's say, king g1, queen to c5 check. And there's nothing more that you can do here. King's gonna move, we're gonna play queen captures on c6, we're gonna deliver queen to h1 checkmate, and that's it. Pretty much this is not the only line, but pretty much all of the lines and somewhere around here. But yeah, after king to d2, Dubov saw this, and of course it was in this position that he resigned the game. So great attacking game, great defending game, and it just seems that here after king to f5, Dubov could not agree with himself to go for a repetition. Here he played f3, and that's all there is. So yeah, that's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely played by Vidit. I would like to thank Joseph Henderson, Frank Combs, Jan Topoulos, Richard Tavan, and Robert Youngquist for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this wonderful event until it ends. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.